Fantastic. All right, cool. Welcome to the first Public House Pubcast of 2018. We're back. We've been away, but that doesn't mean we got worse at what we did. We actually got better, and we went international with our next guest, Dylan Earl, country singer. Welcome to the podcast, man.
Good to be here, dude.
How you doing?
I'm living the dream, one day at a time.
Yeah?
Yep.
What are you doing in London then?
Man, just, living the dream, I guess.
Yeah?
Here we are, big city, bright lights,
Yeah?
Life is fast.
What brought you over?
Really nothing or no one in particular, but just hanging out, just trying to see the city, just trying to see the views.
Being a super cool guy.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I mean, mostly just here visiting and hanging out with friends. Trying to take a little bit of a vacation or a holiday, as I call it over here.
I mean, when was the last time you were on a vacation? Or a holiday?
A very, very long time, man.
Yeah?
Because I usually just travel a lot for, I guess, work. Even though I don't call it work.
So the band, really?
Yeah. I'm in a van with a bunch of sweaty dudes, and so it's not really a very relaxing way to travel, I suppose.
No, but it is a pretty fun way to live. You've got the States. You've got such a big environment to crawl across. I mean, that is like a super country in itself.
Yeah, and crawling is honestly a lot of what we do.
Yeah, just living out of a van.
Yeah, pretty much, man. A lot of sweaty hangovers in a van. So.
How long have you been in the band? What's the name of the band for the audience?
It's just it's Dylan Earl and the Reasons Why.
That's it.
Band.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been doing this, I guess, really touring it heavy for only about 2 years.
Okay.
I'd kind of started being a weekend warrior with my older bands and whatnot, and doing some stuff, little 2 or 3 day runs here and there, but nothing as serious as we've been doing now. Doing coast to coast twice.
Wow.
In the last 2 years.
And was there any plane travel involved in that? Was that just road?
Just road.
Jesus Christ! How long does it take to do coast to coast? What's the longest drive you did between gigs?
We did. I remember one we did, and from Los Angeles to Grand Junction, Colorado, was about 14 hours, something like that.
Jesus Christ! And then how soon out of the van were you doing the gig?
Immediately.
Oh.
It was one of those pull up, load out, play the show, load back in, drive an hour to where we ended up sleeping on the side of the highway. That was a little bit earlier on in the touring when the routings were pretty shit, I guess.
Right. Okay, so because I saw on your Facebook that you finished a tour. It was 23rd of December. You finished doing the tour, roughly.
Yeah. 22nd we finished. And
when did you begin?
Basically September 5th, but I had about 3 weeks off in the middle of November.
Right. But you must have done quite a few gigs.
Yeah. Over this last year, we did about 100 and I think it was over 140 gigs this last year. So
that's pretty good then. So things must be getting a bit more serious for you.
Yeah, it is, and that's often it's kind of the part of it where you start to take it. You take it seriously because you do, and it's your business and you have to. But sometimes you lose track of the fun shit that got you into it,
Yeah, no, absolutely, because it sort of becomes it's like much with any job. You apply for a job that you think is going to be fantastic,
right?
And then within a month of being there, you found the things that you hate about it, pretty quickly. Right. I mean, traveling across the States and unloading heavy gear, living with a bunch of fucking sweaty dudes and playing gigs all the time. It sounds amazing to anybody that doesn't do it.
Right.
But when you start doing it, and I know mates and bands that have just done simple small gigs, like going down to Hastings, down near Brighton and stuff, and then coming back on the same line, they're it's fucking awful sometimes. It's just awful. They didn't make any money. In fact, they lost money, and it just gets gear gets lost and equipment gets fucked up. And
that's exactly right, man. I mean, you end up losing a whole lot of money before you end up starting to make any money, and then the first time you make money, you're usually really shit at handling it, so you just blow it all.
It's the breaking eggs to make an omelette, and
that's
then
right.
When you made that omelette, you fucking eat it really quickly.
That's
and you
exactly
just go straight in. You got.
I've never heard that said before.
What, breaking eggs to make an omelette?
Yeah,
that's how I look at everything that goes if I've fucked a bunch of things up, I'm well, there's gonna be an omelette coming somewhere. I'm gonna get that omelette, and it's not always what I expect it to be, but at least I got that omelette.
Right.
That's the most important thing. So you travel. Your base is at Arkansas, right?
Yeah, we call it Arkansas, but if anyone says
Arkansas, sorry, I always do that.
But honestly, it's a good segue to a really shitty joke we have where we say Arkansas is better than yours.
Hey, I like that.
Regular Kansas is a god awful shitty place. Well,
really?
Honestly, no, it's not that bad. The people are wonderful. The landscape is a pretty terrible spot. Whereas Oklahoma is actually the worst place in America, for sure. At least
what makes Oklahoma so bad?
Landscape-wise, has nothing to offer, and then there's just so many mouth breathers there,
Knuckle dragging mouth breathers.
Yeah, pretty much, And luckily, I don't ever play shows in Oklahoma.
But Arkansas doesn't have that.
So that's not right. There's a couple of them around for sure, because there's people like that everywhere. But We're really fortunate to have a lot of natural resources that get to make our place a little bit better.
Like what? Like natural resources? Like how? Like what?
We got the Ozark Mountains and a lot of clean water.
Nice. That's a rarity.
Yeah. It's the only place you're gonna find blue mineral water between the Appalachians and the Rockies. It's the only place you're gonna find mountains too.
But you feel that when you're drinking your hometown water, you're like.
Yeah, it was actually
that's the shit.
It was really funny, man. We were in Los Angeles this last tour, and we were staying. We actually went to go hang out. I met this Swiss guy, and this other Argentine guy that were hanging out, living together in James Dean's old house up in the hills.
Oh, sweet.
So they're like, hey, come up and check it out. And we went up there to check it out, and the guy that owned the house came up to say hey as well. Smoked a little bit with us, and he actually buys his water from Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Really?
Which is my pedal steel player is from Hot Springs, and there's the mountain spring water there that's supposed to be some of the best in the world. A lot of gangsters from Chicago used to take trains down to Hot Springs and I guess try to think they could cure their syphilis, but joke's on them, you know.
Yeah, you can't cure syphilis just with good water, I guess.
No, absolutely not.
It's not that simple.
I don't know, maybe blissful ignorance is something, but.
Probably, or maybe, that's what they said they were coming down for. We're coming down to cure the syphilis,
yeah,
but really they were like, I don't know, killing a few guys.
Yeah, pretty much.
Doing something retarded and gangsterish.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and maybe finding more syphilis to be had.
Have you spent your whole life in Arkansas?
No, I've only been there since 2005.
Yeah.
I was born and raised in South Louisiana. And,
okay.
After the hurricanes in 2005, Katrina and Rita, I ended up in Arkansas. It's the only place I've ever received any sort of degree of education, I guess. Like
okay.
My high school diploma and my college diploma was from there. I guess university or whatever.
But you must have found like a good home in Arkansas to like want to stay there, you know?
Yeah. I found a real place to live. You know, I'm really proud to be Cajun and be from South Louisiana, but my home life wasn't that great and it was a little unsettled.
Sure.
And so obviously it's hard to make up for that with just being Cajun. So I had to I guess sacrifice. Right. Yeah, I guess so. So I sacrificed the food and the culture, moved to Arkansas, and then I realized that sometimes happiness is something that can't just be bought with good food. Even though food usually really helps.
Yeah, well, there's another saying you may not have heard, that the quickest way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
I have heard that one before.
You heard that, and I think it radiates, man. I think it's a big one.
It's definitely true, you know. So whenever I go back down there every once in a while, I'll have some Cajun food and some gumbo, etouffee, jambalaya, and all that. What's that? They're all kind of you might refer to as like slop, really, because it's not a very glorious food.
Okay.
It's Cajun people were very poor, and they had kind of a very limited amount of ingredients to work with.
Yeah.
The land is pretty terrible in the deep South Louisiana. Yeah. It's all brackish and salt water. You can't really grow anything. So you just kind of make with do. And gumbo is more of like a stew that you serve over rice.
Okay.
Etouffee is kind of a similar thing, but it's not so much as like a soupiness. Is more of it's just hard to describe. It's a little bit more coagulated and a few different ingredients, I guess. More butters are involved in an etouffee versus in a gumbo. A gumbo is very specific with a roux, and it's like it's a cooked flour, a very, very slow processed thing that kind of makes more of a thicker broth.
But it's like a traditional meal that's like lasted the test of time.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and importantly so. Like a good meal should.
Absolutely.
And you keep going back to it.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's definitely been more refined over time. So I bet if you were eating it in the poor days, that was like real gumbo and it probably tasted like shit. Probably. But now it's like a delicacy.
Yeah,
now you go there for the gumbo.
It's the meal that has been tested over socioeconomic statuses. So it's like the richest of the rich will eat gumbo. Yeah. And the poorest of the poor will also eat.
We have that. We have shepherd's pie.
Yeah,
you know shepherd's pie. So it's just all the leftover shit, and then you whack a bunch of potato in there and get a nice crispy potato top, and it's just all these leftovers and random resources, and you just bang it in, and it's delicious.
I love it. Shepherd's pie and some chips. Come on now, that's good.
Shepherd's pie and chips.
Yeah,
that's a lot of potato.
Yeah, I love my starch. You know.
Yeah.
I'm no stranger to starch.
Doesn't it give you a headache? I get headaches from too much starch. It's a weird one, but I get headache. Apples and potato too much. Yeah, I get headaches every time. I get a headache up the back of my head. I don't know what it is.
Maybe that's a disease, man.
Let's hope not.
Hey, you got NHS, so you're good to go.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah.
For now, until like we get a system like yours.
Yeah.
And then we're all fucked on opioids, which is not so bad for like a year. but then it gets rough.
Until
you want to bail out and you can't.
It's pretty awful, man. I just got healthcare, thanks Obama. You know, finally got healthcare, and then ye whose name shall not be spoken.
Yeah,
is trying to take that away.
I guess things are like. I mean, I was going to ask about that, but I felt like it was kind of low hanging fruit to ask an American about Trump.
I'm happy to talk about it. I need a couple more beers before I really get into that, though.
All right, we'll save it for later then.
Right,
let's talk about. I guess we should probably go and make more sense. So like musically, let's go through the history, because you moved to Arkansas. Yeah.
Right.
Was music prior to that? Were you in music prior to that? Were you playing?
I wasn't playing it, but I loved it. I'm really fortunate to have my mother as a saint, and I mean, from a very, very young age, when she would drive me to school in the morning, there would be Dwight Yoakam or Merle Haggard or Travis Tritt tapes in the cassette deck, and I was listening to a lot of that stuff then, and I didn't really quite understand it, even though it became a fabric of who I am,
right.
Just because it was the background soundtrack.
Yeah, basically. Of course, yeah.
And then as I grew into a teenager, I got a lot more into punk and kind of alt rock and all that.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
What year was this roughly? I mean, and how old were you, if you don't mind me asking, so I can gauge this?
Let's see. I was probably about 11 to 12 when I was first starting to listen to like Weezer.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I was a huge Weezer fan back in the day. Pinkerton is still one of my favorite albums.
Yeah.
I love the Blue Album, Pinkerton, and at the time I was into Green Album, and then I fell out of love with the Green Album, then I got back into the Green Album very, very recently, once I was like, oh, that like wasn't total shit, but I don't know.
It grew on you, man.
Yeah, it did, and so I was a big Weezer fan, and then kind of all of the bands that fall into that whole thing, and I got into that, and I learned how to play the bass. I was awful at it.
Yeah.
I had my first little garage band.
But you could go boom,
yeah,
boom, boom, boom.
Exactly.
That's playing the bass.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, fucking.
But so I did kind of my first little garage band in 7th and 8th grade, which is about 11, 12, 13, something like that. And then after that, I ended up going into high school. Didn't really play anything, and it wasn't until I moved to Arkansas that my dad had his guitar, and I thought, well, I don't really have many friends up there yet, so I brought a guitar with me, and then I learned how to strum a couple chords.
Yeah.
And that was right around the time where I kind of started backpedaling on my whole love. I mean, I still love rock and roll for sure.
Sure.
I kind of backpedaled, and I really got into a lot of the folk writing and songwriting of Townes Van Zandt and Guy Clark and them. And so I kind of delved a little more into that, and I started really enjoying just playing very simple, structured songs and some old folk songs, even though at the time I didn't really quite understand what a lot of them are about.
Sure, but you were young. I mean, you were having a go at it.
Right. I was
just trying to emulate your heroes, right?
Exactly. So then that kind of started. That spawned the very first band I ever formed. Well, first band I guess was when I was younger, and that was called Risen back in.
Risen.
Yeah, really
nice.
Terrible band name.
That's a good one. I like that.
But we had this really cool. Actually, I still think it's kind of this little logo thing that was really cheesy with like the sunrise thing, and whatever. We were at 11, 12. But then in Arkansas we had the Cedar Bottom Boys, which is like obviously not far of a departure from the Soggy
The Cedar Bottom Boys.
Yeah, because
cedar's a type of wood, right?
Yeah. So there's these cedar bottoms that were near. Where I used to hang out and get drunk for the first couple times.
Right.
So
you were the Cedar Bottom Boys.
Yeah.
Did anybody else call you that? Was that just a name you came up with, or was there like, oh, these guys are the fucking Cedar Bottom Boys?
They called us that. I guess in high school, I had another buddy of mine that played guitar, and then a friend that played mandolin. So it was 2 guitars and a mandolin,
nice.
And we were pretty shit. Yeah, it was awful. But we had our first couple gigs around when we were at that time, and then I guess moving on from there, I went to college, or I guess uni.
Right.
And my freshman year, I didn't really play any music, but my sophomore year, the Cedar Bottom Boys picked back up because it was a whole new crew of guys. And we basically just played cover songs and
Sweet.
A couple of my own songs I was putting in there, but it was the first kind of gigging I ever really did.
Yeah.
And we went to go play at VFW, and that we used to play a lot. It was just basically like an ex-servicemen's club.
Okay, cool.
Veterans of Foreign Wars. And it's just this, but it's a little bit trashier than an ex-servicemen's club because I guess it's like a sticky, shitty floor, a lot more neon, low-hanging smoke.
You haven't been into enough of an ex-servicemen's club in the UK.
Okay, I've only been to one. So
there's so many shitty ones. I'm quite glad you're up on the parlance so you can like translate over like what we're talking about, because you could have said VFWs and I'd been like, I'd had to ask you. But
right.
Thank God you were like in on that. But like there's some pretty like downtrodden ex-servicemen's clubs around here that still like allow smoking.
Oh, yeah.
Things like that. Yeah, man. They're like the little sidebars, and you go in. There's just really old, white, fat men and women, not quite talking.
Yeah.
But just sitting there observing every other person in the bar, and it gets a bit It's a bit shitty.
Drinking Carling and like...
Yeah, like £2.19 Fosters and stuff like that. Really cheap beer, like super cheap beer. But you can't go in there just as a youngster off the street. Like, I don't know, they don't dig it. And those types of bars are going to die out like very
That's
fast.
unfortunate, man, because the first place when I was in college, the first place that we could drink, because Arkansas is very weird with its liquor laws, and so certain counties are dry. But like the VFW in Conway, they're able to avoid these laws because it's like, oh, well, it's veterans, so like that was like the only bar in town.
Right.
So you could be young and go in there. Obviously, everyone was kind of looking at you out the corner of their eye, checking you out, making sure they weren't screwing something up or being assholes or whatever. But we'd go to the VFW and just get fucked up with all the veterans, and then like
That's pretty sweet.
Stumble back down to the college. You know.
Did that influence your music at all? It must have.
A little bit, yeah, because they would play a lot of honky tonk in there.
Oh yeah.
I love dancing.
Yeah, man, hell yeah.
And so my mom taught me dancing. You know, when I was young.
That's sweet.
And, we used to go to a couple dance halls in Texas together, but we'd go dance at the VFW, and I was one of the only guys who knew how to two-step, and so I was always... as it tends to be a little bit of a thing, I found myself dipping back into the teaching girls how to two-step thing now that I've been in London.
Oh yeah, but they're going to love that.
I guess so. It seems I don't know, sometimes it might seem, what do you call it, naff or something?
Or gimmicky.
But, yeah, gimmicky.
Nah, man, it's, you're spreading culture.
That's
all it is.
I'd like to, I hope so.
No, you definitely are. I mean, check out this shirt and this hat. It's so strong. It's so strong.
A lot of times, it's just like, am I being offensive in my presentation? I don't know.
No, hell no. No way. Like, fashion's on a mad one in London, so right now you'd be like welcomed with open arms.
Yeah,
You're just missing like some spurs or something off your boots.
Yeah, I guess.
Jingle jangles.
I don't know. I'd like to think that I don't want to hurt any animals, So.
No. I appreciate that. I can get down with that. Because I was looking at your website and
I'm glad someone looks at that.
No, I did. It's super sweet. Like, I listened to all your albums as well, and I loved them. But I wanted to find out about this genre, twangcore and countrypolitan, are written on your website.
Okay.
Well, so because I kind of get like post country.
Yeah.
I kind of get that. I understand like when you put post in front of something, I understand what that means afterwards.
Right.
But like. Countrypolitan.
Okay. Yeah.
Lay it on me.
I think it's honestly a lot of those words are because there is no good description and nothing's really stuck yet with what the underground country scene is.
Yeah.
You know, and because there's a huge underground movement that actually seems to be gaining more popularity in this part of the world than in the States, because in the States it's just all this fucking shit pop country are like, but they've just taken the label of country and they keep selling on that, but it ain't that. Like there's no such thing as a beat machine in a country song.
No.
That should not exist, but its label is out there. So it's like, how do you reclaim the more traditional things? So basically what's had to happen is that the traditional style of actual real country has had to rename itself.
Right.
But no one's name has really survived. Dale Watson will call it Ameripolitan, which I can get that, and like it's not quite Americana, because Americana is kind of blanketing, and a lot of this new country that's neo-traditional, I guess, is coming in, but no one knows what to call it, and so I guess it's honestly just kind of a play on the whole situation.
Right.
Whenever I'm just like, twangcore, countrypolitan, like I've just made that shit up.
Right.
But some people do.
It sounds like you did. Yeah. I figured as much. I needed a definition.
Right.
Help.
Well, twangcore is just like kind of like hardcore. It's just hardcore on the twang.
Yeah. Well, I heard some of the guitar solos, and there was plenty of like plinky plonk and twangy twangs.
Yeah. A lot of twang, and then countrypolitan is supposed to be kind of. It's an attempt to, because the word cosmopolitan, obviously, but it's like an attempt to make this country sound more appealing and.
Because I figured like you're taken from like metropolitan, and like it's more urban, it's more modern, it's more built
some
up,
of it like the first record I did has a little bit more grit to it.
Yeah.
So it's that same thing. Yeah. It's almost like urban country.
But how did you get into like I know you said you wanted to reclaim it. But how did you end up sort of really taking that direction with your band into countrypolitan and twangcore, as opposed to saying with traditional? Because you could have been very conservative in your approach. You could have been like, country is country. I'm going to be a purist. Right. And I mean, do you feel like that would have been regressive to stay that way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have. I mean, because purism is good and everything, but you have to find a way to make sure that things are moving into the 21st century.
Sure.
Because obviously there's a big problem with people being conservative and reserved. It's just like, it's not Beaver Cleaver anymore. This is in the 1950s. So
yeah, right.
Like, how do you try to find the way to make this traditional thing also appealing to the new generation, you know, and say, hey, you know, like you can like country music, like it's not shitty if you like country music.
Yeah.
So I think it's been successful because I see a lot of my gigs. I see young kids that are super into it, and then I see like these 60 and 70-year-old people that are also.
So you found a way to bring.
That's
them
the
together.
whole idea, is like bring these generations together through country music somehow, and also, you know, try to make a type of style of country that a purist would say, damn, that's real country, and then also a kid would say, oh, I can listen to this and go on a walk and listen to this, or I can.
Because I'm not like massively educated on like country music, and I have listened to country music. I mean, the most country music. Have you ever heard of the Balfour Brothers?
Yeah,
I love them.
Yeah, the Balfour Brothers did a great. There's a lot of really great traditional Cajun music.
Yeah, it's Cajun Renaissance, isn't it? Because they're French.
Yeah,
it's craziness.
Yeah, they do a really, really neat version of some Cajun music that I appreciate a lot as a Cajun person.
Did you ever feel like the community shunned that kind of music at all, like because it wasn't spoken English, or because it was like a departure from traditional country music at all?
They could have. There's also a problem, and that's almost a whole different subject. There's a problem with the loss of the Cajun culture in South Louisiana, where a lot of people in the 50s and 60s we're fighting. It's so hard to become Americanized. You know, they're bringing McDonald's in, we're bringing the big highways in, we're bringing the department stores in and everything. And so if you still spoke traditional like Cajun or Creole, a lot of times you were looked down as a lesser in society, and so people to try to, I guess, overcome that barrier.
I think there's an overall outlook on that though, about like country music, because it's sort of like it's from the areas that people call like the flyover states, and it's sort of like a regressive, it's an old type of music, and nobody really cares about it because it's like, I guess it's associated with, I don't know if I'm wrong, but like white hillbillies.
It is.
Yeah, right?
It definitely is. It definitely is. And so obviously I promote diversity. And I love it whenever my audience is diverse.
Yeah, man.
Obviously I love it when anybody's
at a show. It's a compliment to use, because you're getting around it.
Trying to, and trying to show that being into country music doesn't mean that you have to be a racist or a misogynist or a sexist or a homophobe or anything like that. Is that anybody can actually like this music just because it's music. It doesn't have to have any political.
But now it's an identity thing, and you carry that shit on your back. When you listen to like a certain track or speak a certain lyrics. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy that music should be the only thing that doesn't carry that, but it does hard.
It ought to transcend any kind of beliefs anyone has. So it is really nice whenever I do have at a show. I might have. Just a very diverse group where I have some big time conservatives and there's some super like left wing people, and then I get to see them cheersing and having drinks because they're both into what I'm doing. So, not necessarily what I'm doing, but also into what I'm doing, and my peers and other people that are kind of following the same footsteps. Because I know I'm not the only person doing this. Yeah, I mean,
what other bands are doing it, or people are doing sort of twangcore and country politic music?
I think it's the neo-traditionalists. It's the people that like you've got your. I'm gonna name drop a bunch, but J.P. Harris and Cale Tyson and Daniel Romano was doing it for a little while, and still kind of into it. And I don't know, a lot of people. Bonnie Montgomery's and she's from my home state. She's doing well.
Right.
Dale Watson is really kind of pushing that whole thing, and he's a Texas swing neo-traditionalist. He's probably in his late 60s now though, so it's cool to see an older guy like that trying to usher in the young people and say, okay, I'm going to create a platform for you and help you guys beat out all of the big record companies.
Sure, I mean, how invasive are the big record companies, do you feel like, in your sort of line of work at the moment?
Definitely. They don't like it because they love how much money people are willing to spend to go to see Luke Bryan or Jason Aldean, and I don't know how much you know about these names, but these are the worst people.
Right.
Yeah, they're the guys that don't know how to write a song, and they're gonna get up there in their $900 clothes and sing about dirt roads and tailgates, because that's all that people have the brain capacity, it seems like, to absorb.
Right, so they just use like buzzwords and easy jargon, low-hanging fruit to just, this is country because we're talking about fucking potato skins and shit.
Yeah, and all the rednecks seem to just eat it up, But I mean, there are it's nice to find the rednecks that are like, you're actually doing it like they used to,
Yeah. But that's what I heard. That's what I heard when I listened to your songs. It was just like, it was so. I heard the twangcore, I heard the country politic music, but I also heard just. I mean, your music's beautifully sung. It's amazing what you do, and it's beautifully performed. And like, I'm a fan now. Like, literally, I was like, because Daniel sent me your information. I was like, cool, I'll check him out. I just heard these just beautiful songs. I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is really awesome.
Right.
I wanted to talk to you about one song that I definitely... you wanted your single... It's the single for your new album, isn't it? Where She Woke Up, in brackets, on Mornings With Me.
Yes.
That's a sick record. Like, it's a sick record because I don't know, maybe it's because of like I'm in a bit of a moment where I like met a girl and she's gone and it fucking sucks, and it just spoke to me like in many ways. But it is a wonderful song, man.
Thank you.
I mean, where did that come from?
I feel like we're talking about low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
It's, sometimes I think the challenge is to take that low hanging fruit because everyone can connect to it, but also try to write about it in a different way that's just not so obvious.
That's an interesting way of looking at things. I like it.
Yeah, so everyone's been left before.
Yeah.
Everyone's experienced that. Obviously, I experienced it and whatnot, and I try to make sure that every song at least has the majority of it comes from me, but also a lot of times it's my observation of my friends or people around me and how they're going through things. And
right.
Obviously, I can't really point out, here and there, be like, oh, this is because my friend so-and-so was going through shitty breakups, and that made me an asshole, but I already am enough of an asshole as is. But I don't know, it definitely came from a real place, and it comes from, you try to take those specific little moments where you have like a slight realization that really makes you feel like shit sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And then you try to weave that into the fabric of I guess of a song somehow, or into the fabric of a record.
But this one you picked as like a single because you've shot a video for it as well.
Yeah, it was the first video I did. It's probably because the recording of it itself is I'm kind of most proud of it. But it is the only song that I redid from the last EP, and I brought it over. And I think re-recording a song oftentimes.
Is that off Yeehaw?
No, it's not on Yeehaw. It's on Blessing in Disguise.
Yeah, that's the one. Blessing in Disguise. That's the one.
So it's on there, and it was actually my least favorite recording on Blessings.
Oh, yeah.
And then I brought it over to this one, and we kind of really reworked it, and I got to bring in some female backing vocals. Some women that I really respect.
Kind of gospel-y.
Yeah. So it's my friends Sarah Strickland and Mary Kimbrough. They're some of my favorite vocalists in the state of Arkansas, and so I got to bring them in and see what they did. And a lot of the vocals they did in the background, that was all them. I just brought them in the studio, we had some drinks, and I said, go nuts. Like, you do you on this thing, and they did them. So I can't take full credit for all of that,
No, sure. But I mean, it's under your name, it's under your project, and
it is,
obviously
definitely.
you're working with talented people, and there's talented producers, and everybody working behind you. But have some pride, man.
You
did great.
I don't want to ever be too proud.
Nah, man, that's a good thing.
Yeah, there's what's really pleasing about the new record. What I'm most happy about is that it's a bunch of musicians that are all from Arkansas, and it's all people that I respect so much in the music scene, and I hadn't really been able to take advantage of that, and so it's a showcase of our local talent, really. And
so how did you meet the Reasons Why then?
These boys are guys that have been in the scene before. So Dick Darden, he's the drummer, and he did all the drums on the record. He's played in a couple of other bands that I always loved, and my old band, I guess, we all would share shows and share bills all across the state together.
Yeah, right.
And so we just kind of became friends, and I remember one night we were up, doing God knows what until the wee hours of the morning, and I had just been like, hey man, I'm thinking about doing this other project, and it kind of started there with him. So he's been in there the longest. Ben Robbins he's from Hot Springs and is the only pedal steel player you can find under 40, so it's a pretty obvious choice.
Pedal steel player.
Yeah.
Is that the strings laid down horizontally?
Yeah, sit down thing. So I found Ben, and it turns out we got along really well, and so it was really nice having him on the road. Pedal steel's probably the hardest instrument I can ever imagine playing.
It's a beautiful sounding instrument.
Definitely, and it's such a staple of that type of music as well. But you're literally plucking with 3 fingers here. You're running a bar, but then I don't know if you can see it, but there's also these posts that come down on each side of the leg. So you're moving this way to make sounds, that way for sounds, out or in.
The first time I ever heard it played so incredibly was Santo and Johnny.
Okay, I'm not familiar.
Have you ever heard it? They did a song called Sleepwalk, and this is part 2 of the Pubcast with me, Eddie, and Dylan Earl. Sweet. Yeah, the only reason that happened is because Dan fucked up and didn't save enough memory on his... were you using an iPhone, iPod, an Android? No, you're not going to say anything?
I need to get another beer. So this one's for you folks.
We're now sipping the buds.
Sipping on buds.
But not the right buds.
No, these might be the right buds.
These might be the right buds. Mm-hmm. Alright, let's get back to where we were. So, steel pedal.
Yeah, we were talking about the pedal steel. You'd asked me how I'm at the reasons why.
And is the steel pedal dying?
It is definitely dying, but there's the whole neo-traditional style of music that's bringing some young players back,
right?
Which is nice to see. But a lot of that's really happening in places like Nashville and Austin,
right? Any particular reason why?
Because those are the traditional country hubs of the world, really, are Nashville and Austin. So there's a lot more young players that grew up on that and kind of grew into that whole style of things. But Ben, who plays with me, he's probably the youngest guy in Arkansas. There's another guy, Alex Piazza, that plays with me as well. He's, I guess around, I'll just say 39. But
you reckon he's around 39?
Yeah, something like that. But he's a hell of a player too. But it's just harder to find in Arkansas. There's not. It's probably just myself and Bonnie Montgomery that are really dipping into this whole style.
Yeah.
You know,
well, it's a good dip, man. It sounds good.
I appreciate it.
And it works for what you're doing, right?
Yeah. It works well, you know, and I'm lucky to surround myself with guys who are interested in playing that music. So another guy that travels with me is Chris Wood. He's a bass extraordinaire. He's also probably, I don't know what he'd be better at because I'm not good enough to decide if he's better at guitar or bass, but he's an incredible guitar player and actually the best guitar player in the band when he plays bass.
Legit, yeah.
He's incredible, and sometimes I have other guys. Lee Zadro, who did all the keys on the record, he just actually was able to come out and tour a little bit with me, and there's also a fellow Will King that'll come out.
Yeah.
My roommate Hayden Johnson, I feel like I got a name drop all my homies.
Yeah, shout them all out, man. This is a big move.
Yeah,
baby.
You know?
You're on public house, baby.
That's right, dude. This is the real deal. But Hayden's also my roommate. He's come out and toured with me and played bass. He's definitely been an important addition. Ryan Glover, I can't forget about Ryan Glover. They've been out with me before, and then the Valick brothers, Jimmy and Dave. They've been out. Whit Wright. Whit's incredible. He came out on a 4-day run with me playing pedal steel when Ben couldn't come. He's played with Casey Musgraves and he used to play in American Aquarium for the longest time.
What are these two bands?
American Aquarium is probably at one time they were probably the hardest working band in the country. They used to do over 300 shows a year, kind of thing.
Jesus Christ, that's like either 2 a day with like a day in between, or 1 a fucking day.
Yeah, I mean they were the hardest working group of folks that I'd ever met, and it was really great meeting those dudes and kind of hearing about it. And you know, they're about 7 or 8 years ahead of me, so I got to really experience them and watch them go through what they were going through, and through that I became friends with Whit. It also helped that one of my old friends, Whit, went to high school with him, so there was this kind of connection in Alabama. He's from Huntsville, Alabama, but and then Casey Musgraves, I don't really know much about her, but she's a big deal, but it's nice to see Whit's carried on with some other great groups because he deserves it.
Is there much of that in Arkansas, like tourist traps? Do people, I mean, what's like a tourism board like?
There's honestly not a whole lot. That's what I like about Arkansas.
Sure.
Whereas in Louisiana we have New Orleans, and there's a couple of spots where they, you know, the culture's exploded a little bit, but in Arkansas there ain't shit there, which is kind of nice. Like if you're in Arkansas, you're either driving through, because Interstate 40 goes through Arkansas, and it's one of the busiest thoroughfares in the country, connecting the east and the west. But you have to really be going there. You know, you have to know somebody to be going there. You're not going to just go there like, I'm going to go to America, so I'm going to go to Arkansas.
I don't know, man.
America's going to go to
That's kind of
Arkansas.
what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to go to Arkansas and like go to like Oregon and just like all these random shitty states.
You should.
Shitty places.
You should.
And Minnesota and stuff, just because that's not, because everywhere else is like everything we see on the screens and on the news is like, you know, the Hollywood America, or it's the news America, it's New York, it's California, it's San Francisco, you know, it's the main places. But somewhere like Boston and all these like really fucking cool, like Mississippi and stuff, like it'd be so cool to go down to these little towns.
You ought to check out Mississippi and Alabama. Tennessee's nice. I mean, Louisiana's great, and Arkansas, there's only 2.5 million people in the whole state, and I think that the state is roughly...
What? 2.5? How big is the state? It must be bigger than London, because London's like definitely. 11 million, right? It's massive.
Arkansas is probably, I would say, roughly 3/4 the size of England. Something like that.
Fucking hell. You just made me feel so small.
No, man. I mean, there's so much more culture and shit packed into a place like this. It's just a different thing. You can't really compare landmass to...
No, you can't. But yeah, there's like so many little subsections of culture in the UK. But like, you know, in America, you are dealing with such a humongous landmass and such a divide of cultures.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what's that like to navigate as a countrypolitan musician? I mean, what's the worst reception you've ever received then?
Oh man, would
that be in like a more urban environment like New York?
No,
or something
not
like
necessarily. That? You know, I mean, it's. I'm trying to think of my worst gig. I've had a couple load-in, load-outs, which is like a very rare thing that happens. You almost, in a strange way, you like celebrate it. You know, where it's like...
What do you mean? What do you mean, like a load-in, load-out?
A load-in, load-out is whenever you load into a gig and then you realize no one's going to come, so you load out before you have to embarrass yourself for nobody.
Have you never played to just like an empty bar?
There have been a couple of shows when we were first starting out, but there's always like 2 or 3 people in there. But I've had 3 load-in, load-outs in my career.
Right.
The first one, actually, I was on a support tour with Daniel Romano, and we had just played to 700 people in Portland, Oregon.
Right.
And we went kind of inland into Bend, Oregon, and there was a promoter that put on the show but the poster had misspelled my name. It was like Dyaln or something like that.
Dylan.
Yeah, which is like, how do you fuck that up? You know, like I know Dylan's not like the most common name, but it's not like.
Oh come on, it's easy.
Like Bob, come on, Bob Dylan, like for fuck's sake, you know?
Yeah, right.
But you know, so like that was wrong, and it was just like we get to the show and there's a bartender and the promoter, and it's like 9 o'clock at night. That's when most shows start, you know, and there's not a single person in the place. And of course, Dan's like, you don't have a fucking single friend, like a fucking girlfriend, or like your mom couldn't come to the show. And so we loaded out before we even did anything, and then. The next one I had was I do this tour every summer with my roommate's band. They're more of like I call it nautical thrash folk.
Why?
They're called May the Peace of the Sea Be With You. It's fucking awesome, man. I love those dudes. And so I do this tour with them where I open the shows and a couple of those guys play with me, and I'm usually like wearing makeup and shit. And
what kind of makeup? Like glam rock?
No, I'll just like wear lipstick and like draw like big red circles here because we're playing a lot of DIY places and some basements to like a bunch of crust punk kids, which I love. You know? So it's like, how can I make this so absurd that these kids are gonna love it? And I've had so many people after shows be like, I hate country music, but for some reason I couldn't stop watching that, and I was like, perfect.
Legit.
You know,
Twankle's coming in hard.
Yeah, you know, I wore my underwear for like much of one of the tours, but.
What do you mean you wore your underwear? The same underwear?
Well, no, just like underwear and then boots and a hat.
Oh, that's all you wear. Oh, okay. I was gonna be like, that's kind of good because like not wearing underwear can chafe.
No, there's problems with that in touring too. But so like those tours are a lot of fun. We had one in Champaign, Illinois, where it was you just get the vibe and we load into a spot and you're like, why would anyone come to this?
Sure.
Like, why the fuck would anyone be here? So you just load out and you're like, all right, so you boys want to go camping? There's a campsite like 20 miles away. Let's just go buy some beer and go camping.
Easy.
And so we'll just like, I'd rather go spend a night in the woods drinking beer than
doing a shit gig.
Yeah, doing a shit gig because I've already played those songs a million times. Like, it's not satisfying me.
Yeah, that must get like I always think about this like when like comedians maybe they run over an old joke, or when obviously musicians they run over like several old songs like non-stop. It gets a bit like, how can I put an edge on this performance? I mean, how do you deal with that?
Man, you just, I don't know. You try not to make it too booze fueled, but a lot of times it might be the substances you might be enjoying at the time, or
yeah, for sure.
Or I don't know. Sometimes because you've done it so many times, I'm like,
yeah, you need to change the frequency of it, or time it a little differently, or get more fucked up before you play.
Yeah, you get a little more fucked up, and it's just like if you're not really feeling a room, sometimes you're just like ordering more shots in the bar, or it's just like legit. You know what? I've turned around so many times and been like, fuck it, boys. And it's just like, and usually Dickie D on the drums is like, yeah, you're right, totally fuck this, and he'll just kick it up, and we start playing fast. And just like chugging booze and just kind of really, as y'all say, would be taking the piss out of yourselves.
That's
just
cool.
Like making fun of the whole thing you're doing because
self-deprecating.
You're like, this whole thing is total shit. Like, why should I be taking myself seriously at all?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, it's good to have like a humbleness about you, not to like sit there and be like, oh, I'm an artist, I turned up to a gig and no one's here. How fucking dare you? Be a prima donna about things and be all like, oh, fuck you. But instead, just be like, we ain't really shit.
It's true, man. And I had my last load in, load out was actually this last tour in Nashville, Tennessee. So we had just done a bunch of gigs in North Carolina. North Carolina is amazing. We did 4 shows in a row there where it was like 75 plus in the room. Fucking wonderful crowds, very attentive. Everyone's dancing. Then we get to Nashville after this amazing run, and Nashville's the next show, and it's supposed to be the home of country. But it really proved itself, and like kind of why I hate Nashville as like
why?
Yeah, because that's where Music Row is. That's where all the fucking bullshit is.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to blow up Music Row. Like, fuck that place.
What's the deal with Music Row? I mean, I don't understand.
Well, that's where all the there's a thing that exists where it's like there's a songwriting firm that writes songs for this agency who's gonna try to peddle it out to a couple of their artists.
That's fucking gross, man.
Yeah, it's disgusting. So it's like, fuck Nashville, but also in Nashville there's a wonderful underground scene, but it's like clearly on kind of one area. And we were playing this gig, and they have like the listening room is way shut off in the back where you couldn't figure out where it was, and we knew no one was going to be there, and so we were like, we just had 4 amazing shows in North Carolina, like, fuck this.
Yeah, right.
So we just rolled up shop, and my mom luckily lives like 40 minutes away in the middle of the country. So
fucking
like,
sweet.
Hey mom, so like tours already. You got any gumbo? Yeah, exactly. You got any gumbo, please? But yeah, you know, Nashville's a fucky place. But
how many gigs out of like all the gigs that you played were just like sucky like that?
Fortunately, they're becoming more few and far between.
Oh, then you're getting better at what you're doing.
I suppose so. You know,
think so.
There's you know, you don't ever want to count your eggs before they hatch, or count your chickens. Excuse me. Whatever the term is.
Yeah, whatever, man, it works.
Yeah. You know,
omelets. So they eventually become omelets. Don't
they
worry.
They eventually become omelets. Exactly. But yeah, you know, I've been very fortunate recently, so I don't take it for granted whenever I have a packed room in a town that I very rarely visit.
For sure.
And I've never really turned off totally whenever I go to a town there's no one in a room. If there are, however, if there's like 2 people in the room that came to the show to see the shit, it's like, all right, I'm about to play this shit at you super hard. And sometimes those are the most fun gigs because you can totally take yourself not seriously. Yeah. And
they appreciate it as well, right?
Right, they do. And I'm not at all about to take any of that for granted that there's 2 people that came out to see my show, because it's like, I don't know who the hell you are, so like there's really no reason for you to know who I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for giving a shit.
I mean, do you guys like promote that far ahead? Do you because a lot of people do a lot of heavy social media marketing and postering and flyering, and if they don't get like a particular reception or a certain amount of likes or views or whatever the fuck it is, or like what is it, imprints or whatever, just when people just about see what you've done on social media, do you ever like bail out of one that just didn't get enough?
No,
do you guys promote? Or?
I will never not show up to a gig because I've made a contractual obligation with someone. I've promised someone to do something, and my mom always said, you know, your word is your word. So
absolutely,
me, so it's like, yeah, I'm going to show up, but if I show up and it is shit, I am going to leave.
Yeah.
But I've gotten better at booking tours much farther in advance.
Yeah.
And I've just gotten better at it in general and understanding how it works, because your first couple tours, it's just such a learning process, and I'm still learning. Every single tour I do, I learn, and I've been doing it very heavily over the last, you know.
I mean, have you made it sorry again to interrupt. Have you made any like particularly large mistakes that have allowed for an upward trend in your like progression? Because I can imagine you could go and do a bunch of gigs and have one major fuck up that could either stop you from touring that year, or you know, stop you from touring a tour in that state or whatever, and then you can flip it over and be like, yeah man, we managed to work it out, let's make it better.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find a specific example, because luckily I haven't had too many large fuck ups, but I'm trying to think of, I know I've learned from so many things, and now maybe it's a good thing I can't quite remember them.
Maybe. That's probably the reason you can't.
Right. Well, a lot of it is the proper advancing in your tour. So you book the tour, but say you have it booked, but it's like, you got to follow up on that.
Yeah.
And so I need to follow up on what's my load-in time.
Yeah, right.
What is, and I got to watch out for my boys. So like, are they providing food and drink?
Logistics.
Yeah, it's just all the logistics. So I think the first couple tours, I was more just stoked that anyone was going to book me at all.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to advance because I was
so you just white knuckle it the whole way through, just like, I don't care how much food we've got, I don't care how much fuel we've got, as long as we make it to the gigs.
Which typically results in us sitting around a campfire heating up canned goods. You know? And I'm not ashamed. I love doing that, and a lot of times when I travel west, it's awesome because I will plan a couple of days off and we'll go camping.
Yeah, but those are pure moments, and you need those.
Yeah, definitely. And so there's been times where, like, I'll tell you a story about Big Taseki.
All right. So what's Big Taseki?
Big Taseki was a night in which we almost all died. We didn't have the right advance on the show, so we made no money from the show, which was my fault entirely. And that's also a big burden I take whenever I'm booking a show with everybody, because these guys are entrusting me that I'm going to take care of them, and if I don't follow up and do my job properly. So Big Taseki was a big learning moment. I guess it's one of these things. So we had no fucking money. It was actually at like the very beginning of a tour, which is the worst time for something to go terribly wrong. We had nowhere to stay, and so we were like, well, there's a national forest around here. It's April, so it should be warmer. But the mountains just outside of Santa Fe, it just gets dramatically colder, obviously, the further up you go. And so we were traveling to national forests, and national forests in the U.S., it's like free camping within certain parameters of where you are on the road, but it's all protected forest, so you can kind of just go out and camp wherever you want, no trace kind of thing. So we God, it's such a fucking shitty night. We went up, we found this one spot that was just kind of like, the road was wrapping around the the mountainside and everything. And there was kind of like a jut out of the mountain here as the road wrapped around. And so we found this spot up here, which is clearly, obviously, a bad place to try to camp out because you're so exposed on all sides. You're like on the edge of this mountain. There's just wind everywhere.
Sure.
So there was a little bit of snow on the ground already, but
right.
a lot of times in those drier climates like that, it can be fine, you know. And so we went and we got there and we're like, well, it's pretty fucking cold. But we had a full case of beer and some tequila, and we're like, all right, you know, fuck it, you know, the tequila's gonna keep us warm, and so you know, doing the thing where
fuck the wind.
Yeah, we start a fire and I'm heating up canned goods for the boys by the fire and everything, and it was like, it was already really depressing because we found like a needle sitting by this, because it was like an already pre-made ring that someone had been there, and it was like, we found a needle and we're like, oh god, and so we're just like run away and like toss the needle away, like gross, because that's something I will never touch that.
No, you don't like getting your skin.
Yeah, but anyhow, so it's just like, this is already kind of depressing, and so we're basically just like chugging tequila to get through the fact how cold it was. And we're also assholes because I like to sleep in a hammock a lot when I'm on tour, because it's like, it's my little like safety zone. It's my cocoon.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I get you.
And you know, it's like much nicer.
Way better than a hard ground.
Yeah, it's way better than the ground, and I'd rather maybe sleep on the outside of someone's home because I also feel less intrusive.
Oh yeah, no, I feel that.
Yeah, so it's like I can sleep easier without being like, oh shit, I'm in someone's way.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we string up hammocks up on Big Taseki, and I remember, so Hayden was playing bass at the time. Hayden's like an Eagle Scout, pretty rough guy, and he decides he was going to sleep on the ground by the fire, which was probably the smartest thing to do. But I remember at some point, like I was probably asleep about an hour until my body cooled down, and then, you know, I lost all the warmth from the tequila and everything.
Yeah.
Finally, I wake up, and I'm wrapped up, but it is just so fucking cold, and the wind is howling up there, and you can just see the snow drifts are picking up and shit. And I look over and I see where Dickie D's hammock was, and it's just flapping the wind because he's bailed.
Right.
So I guess he's gone down to the van.
Yeah.
And so I get up. I remember like walking, like wrapping myself in these blankets and like bracing myself against the snow, and walking past the fire, which is just a couple of embers. And Hayden is almost laying in the embers of the fire, and he has long hair, so he's like kind of bundled up, and there's like a bit of a snowdrift that's developed against his side, and his hair is just like flying in the wind and shit. And it was like, I was like, oh my god.
You must have felt like you were walking up on a dead body.
I thought so, yeah. I was like, fuck, is he alive? And I was like, Hayden. He was just like, yeah. You know, I was just like, dude, I'm going to the van. He's like, oh, okay. And so I went down to the van, and the only place to sleep in the van, because I've kind of tricked it out, and I've got a couch in there and another bench seat, and I call it Cozy Town USA. So like,
it's that one place.
Yeah, so
when keeps on moving.
Right, exactly. So when we're riding down the road, there's two guys up front, and there's two dudes that can lay down in Cozy Town. You know,
fucking sweet.
It's wonderful. So anyway, like, there's two. Ben and Dickie D are now in Cozy Town, and the only place I could find where I could kind of lay down was actually in the back of the van, where there's about a foot wide gap between all the gear and the back doors. And so I could only lay on one side, and I couldn't turn over, and I couldn't lay flat on my back. But it was much better in there because the wind was broken. But all I had to like cover up with was a couple blankets I brought, and like a towel for some reasons. I left some other shit. I don't know. This is where you learn from your mistakes. Anyway, I'm trying to make a long story short. I remember because we didn't sleep at all that night, and I remember Hayden coming down, and he went to like the front door, and they saw it. Like he was like, I don't want to sleep in the front door. I'm gonna try to climb in the back. And I was awake, and I could just see his thought process. You know, and I saw him like go check the front, and him be like, oh fuck it, well those guys are sleeping in Cozy Town, so I'm gonna go to the back. The same thing I did.
Right.
And I remember him like coming to the back, and I was like knocking on the glass, like, don't open that fucking door, like I can't lose any heat, man. And like finally he went and climbs into the front seat, and it was just this awful time where no one was saying anything to each other, but we were all so fucking cold because it was probably, I don't know, it was probably like -5 Celsius.
That's a lot to deal with, man.
It was a shitty time, and I just remember, it's one of those beautiful moments where once the sun, the slightest amount of blue developed in the sky.
Oh yeah.
Like, is everybody up? Everyone was like, fuck yeah, we're awake, man. And it was like, let's get the fuck out of here. So we drove down Big Taseki and found this all-night diner, and we ended up eating there. But that's one of those moments, and I made a long story out of Big Taseki.
No, that was
really
good. That was a good story. Like,
there's
no complaints about Big Taseki. Am I saying that right? Big Taseki?
Big Taseki, man.
Big Taseki, right.
Yeah. So we will never forget Big Taseki, and it's like...
What did you learn?
We learned, obviously, bring more warmth and more clothes, especially just because it's April doesn't mean it's not going to be cold.
Don't camp in the wind.
Don't camp in the wind.
Yeah.
Fucking advance your shows.
Yeah.
And know how much money you're going to have, because the advancing is going to tell you what your budget is. And so now that I advance, and I'm also demanding, you know, like, don't be afraid to ask too much money, but don't be a dick.
Sure.
You know, it's like the whole thing. So it's like, what is it to take $200 off of a bar if they have like a reasonable good clientele?
Yeah, right.
So it's like, hey, I need at least $200 a show, and that way you can, in an emergency, you can always afford a hotel.
How do you? How do you guarantee that amount of money? Like, do you book tickets? Do you do ticket sales, or do you say like, bar tab, or what? You know, do you take the money off the bar?
There's a lot of different ways they do it, and a lot of bars prefer to do what they do in certain ways, and so sometimes they already have a preset deal where it's like, well, we give your band meals tab and $150-$200. Some places, if you know you have a good draw, like for instance, when I go to Raleigh, North Carolina, I can usually ask for a little more, or I can ask a little more in Denver, or I can ask more in Los Angeles, because I know, also having worked in bars and service industry myself, like I know what kind of revenue is coming in.
Sure.
So it's like I can feel confident saying that, being like, well, without me, you're going to have 70 less customers.
Right,
so
right,
it's
right.
like, is it absurd for me to ask for $400 to $500? If I bring 70 people who are going to spend $1,500, so you're going to make $1,000 off of me just being there.
Right. So it's like a percentage negotiation.
Yeah, it's definitely
you got to sort of predict ahead.
Right, but you definitely don't want to be a dick, you know. And like I'm
absolutely.
I'm not trying to be a prima donna whenever I ask for money or say we needed this or that. But
come on, you got to eat, man.
Yeah, definitely.
You got to eat. You got to pay for your fuel. At least if you can get the basics down.
Right.
If you can get the very, very fucking basics down, then everything else is a bonus.
Right. And so the bonus usually comes into, luckily Arkansas is very, very cheap to live there, and it's very high quality of life. So I can always usually guarantee my boys like a month's worth of rent.
Yeah, man, that's
good.
good.
Just be like, you get your month's worth of rent because you're working. Like for instance, the December tour I did, we did 18 shows in 21 nights, and so it's like,
Jesus Christ.
If you do 18 shows, I should be able to guarantee you $300
now,
or $200.
This is how I can come to understand, because as much as you were saying, gigging and traveling and all this shit is pretty awesome, but it quickly becomes a job, and it quickly becomes something you can have gripes with. Right. And when you, especially you're taking the responsibility of. You're taking responsibility over like several people or a group of people plus bars, and you have to like estimate like how much are we gonna make here, how much are we gonna make there, where can we camp here. That's a lot of pressure for you to deal with, man.
Dude, it is.
That's a lot. Like it's a big fucking easy task.
It is, because the initial process of going through a tour is already very stressful, and I know that everyone else is stressed out through it.
Sure, yeah.
But you know, I oftentimes I have to try to pull myself back, because I find myself getting frustrated in certain ways on the road that my mood will be bad, and it's like, but the morale of a band is so important. That's also
no, absolutely.
You know,
but it's hard. But I mean, these things are like hard to maintain, because you can't predict the adversities that you're going to encounter on the way.
Right.
And you can't predict, you know, because people must get phone calls from home, and it's like, yo, we've got some bad news, and it's just like, for fuck's sake, and that person's down, and then the whole team has to like boost that morale or make up for that morale.
Exactly. You use the right word. You use the word team.
Yeah, it's a team.
It's a fucking team,
it's
man.
A team. Everybody works together, man.
Yeah, especially when you're out on Big Taseki. You realize you're a team, and it's like, I fucking need you, man.
Who was your homie that was like laying by the fire?
Hayden Johnson, man.
The dude just left him.
Yeah, well, I did. I was like, yo, right. I was like, it'll be fine. God, dude, I'll never forget that image, just like a snowbank developing up against him, and him just like, his hair flying in the wind, just like how it just, he's literally on blankets in the ground.
It's kind of dystopian, it's kind of like far away from what you would have imagined that situation to be. You imagine you'd all wake up around the fire, hey, morning man, everything's fantastic, but actually your homies are like, am I going to be okay?
Well, we all laughed our asses off, and we were in this diner, the Sunrise Diner, and it's this they have a lot of good New Mexican food, which is like obviously like this little bit of Mexican style and this kind of like American West style that mixes, and we're in this wonderful diner, and just all looked and smelled like shit, and we were just laughing our asses off, because, you know, we're like, back home, everyone thinks what we do is so glorious. Everyone thinks that, like, tour, oh my god, you're on tour, that's so amazing. But it's like, we almost just fucking froze to death and got hypothermia on this mountain.
But that's the cool thing. You've experienced the adversity and the challenges of whatever you did and the fuck up that you made, but now you're laughing in the face of adversity because you've overcome it, you beat it, and you kind of you say you learn. I'll say that in inverted commas. You've learned a lesson.
Yeah, we definitely
for sure.
You learn something from it, man.
You have to. I mean, if you don't learn something from it, it's just. I mean, you're either going to stagnate and be the fucking very same thing all the time, or you're going to get shitter.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, and it's like, I don't, you know, sometimes if you get handed everything every single day, like you're not learning anything new.
Hell no, no way. I mean, it sounds like a massive cliche, but like, diamonds aren't formed in butter.
That's
they're
right.
formed heavily under pressure.
I've never heard that before, but I like it.
No, I'm just saying this off the top of my head. Like, it's just how I say it. Grab me a beer. Yeah, sick. Fuck yeah, beer. All right.
Okay, man.
But it takes a lot to learn. It's a pain in the arse to learn. Especially as you get older as an adult, the consequences get more real. Especially when it becomes like life and death and finances and kids.
Yeah.
And all this crazy shit.
Well, the kids are on hold for sure.
Yeah, the kids are on hold for sure. But like when you're a child, the consequences is like, oh, what, you caught him pissing up against the side of the school. Okay, so the head teacher's pissed, your parents pissed, but you don't really have much to learn from it other than it's a bad thing. But now you're an adult, you piss up against the side of the school, that's public indecency, you just fucking disseminate public property. And I guess like camping out when you're younger, maybe with your parents or whatever, the onus is on them. To make sure that you survive. But when you're a group of adults freezing on the top of a fucking mountain.
You're a group of adults freezing like a bunch of children.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You got to have a steep learning curve, or else you'll probably die on your next tour.
Yeah, exactly, man. And yeah, you also.
I'm not sure I was going with that, but yeah.
It definitely it follows the territory, man, and you kind of learn your places that you can make mistakes, and you learn places not to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Like climate wise, or the city that you're in,
No, for sure.
Also, I mean, it helps having revisited these places, and so I've developed relationships in certain spots that I'm usually know I'm not going to go hungry or without a place to sleep.
Right.
Or I've even
tactical
found
decisions.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
And I've found like certain little hotels that give me good deals and shit. And
there you go.
The more times you go through an area, the more you learn how to do it. And so with touring, a lot of times you're finding your routes.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a really important thing.
Yeah.
It's a really important thing to establish relationships.
Yeah, and
because that becomes like a network of teams.
Right.
Say.
Exactly. So I've got my spots now, and I've got my cities, and I've got certain promoters that I work with, and it just makes it so. For instance, like I'm going back out in April out to LA and Colorado, but I've got some great spots there with some wonderful promoters that are willing to take a chance on me. And
Beautiful.
They keep taking a chance on me, which is great.
Congratulations, you've done well, man.
Yeah, trying to.
That's legit. That's legit.
But obviously, well is all relative, So.
Yeah, no, it is all relative. It's all contextual. I mean, but what's next? So, are you touring next year?
Yeah, I am touring next year. I'm actually going to try to take it easy.
Yeah.
Because I just released this record, and so I fucking toured a whole bunch this last year, more than I ever had in my life. So this year I'm trying to be a little more tactical with it.
Sure.
Because now I feel like I've developed enough spots that are kind of my little hot spots, where the places where people give a shit.
And you can plan your routes through them.
Yeah, exactly. So I call those pivot points.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And so I've got my pivot spots. I'm going back to LA again because people in LA have been way kinder to me than I deserve, and the people of Denver and the rest of Colorado.
Mate, dude, they'll only be as kind as you deserve, right? They'll only be as kind as you deserve.
Fair enough.
That's how kindness works.
I guess you're right, man. But yeah, so I'm hitting those spots, and then I'm actually going to be coming. I'm going to be coming to the UK in July, and I'm bringing the full band over.
Fucking sick, because I know you came over here and you only did a couple of solo gigs, right?
Yeah, I'm just doing a couple solo things, kind of feeling it out, because it's just so daunting to bring a whole band over.
Yeah, sure.
It's kind of terrifying.
Oh, the UK will love you though.
They will for sure. I think. I mean, I shouldn't say for sure.
Especially Ireland and Wales, I believe you'd have a very fantastic reception.
I definitely want to hit those spots.
Definitely do Ireland.
It's terrifying bringing the whole band over just because of the reasons you said before. Like you're responsible for a bunch of people.
Yeah, absolutely. But there are. I mean, in this country, I'm not sure that we suffer from similar winds and snowfall. There's certain places
there might not be a big Toseki here.
No, you have to probably deal with regular rain, mud, and cold, but that's about it.
So I chose July.
Yeah, right. So July is a fantastic time to come down. This is prime time for us.
It ought to be all right, and I'm mostly just excited to bring these boys over. Ben has been over plenty of times, but the rest of the band has never really left the States, apart from a gig we did in Canada. But they've never really been outside of the United States, and so I can't wait to see especially Chris and Dick, those guys are just so enthusiastic about things. And when they come to London, I know it's gonna be a big deal. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Hit me up when you get down. Like, you better when you get down, and fucking we'll go around, and you, me, Dan, and everyone from Pubcast will just go on a mad one.
I would love to do that.
I'd love to do that.
That'd be great.
So when you come back over to tour, are you going to be doing the current album, or are you working on something on its way?
I'm always trying to work on something.
The current album is called Jesus Christ.
New Country to Be.
That's the one.
New Country to Be. Yeah, I mean we're technically on the tail end of all the North American, I guess, touring of all that record, but it's nice because like you tour the U.S. with a bunch. It's like okay, like you're kind of at the end of tour and all that.
Yeah.
But coming over here, it's like everything gains a second life. So I'm still going to be touring that record whenever I come here, and we're planning on doing a UK run. I've booked a couple things in Sweden.
Nice.
And I'm working with actually the first time I've ever worked with an agent. Is out of Sweden, so that'll happen, which is kind of a daunting thing in and of itself.
Right.
Because I'm so used to handling everything, so I've become so anal retentive about it.
And now because somebody's taken like the weight off your shoulders, you feel like you need to make sure that person is doing everything that you've had to deal with in your own
right,
mind.
But then you're challenged with not micromanaging someone else that's already proven to be successful in what
absolutely,
they're doing,
and it's their job to micromanage you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ironic. It's a weird thing, but it's part of the learning curve because if they fuck up in a certain way that you hadn't prior to engaging with them, then you wouldn't know that they'd fucked up. It'd only be that they fucked up.
Right.
And if you can see a fuck up coming, that's way better, right?
Exactly, but sometimes I won't be able to see a fuck up coming, you know. But touring next year is just basically that little run to LA, and then we're planning on basically touring up the East Coast of the U.S.
Yeah.
Flying out of New England, flying out of Boston, because it's cheaper and we can tour up that way. Fly over here, spend enough time over here that when we fly back and tour back down, it's been long enough in between shows on the East Coast so I can double up, and then hopefully. It's all about finances, man. You are scraping dollars.
Oh, absolutely. It's all logistics.
It's total logistics.
It's a pain in the ass.
Because I don't have any. I mean, I have my label, I guess, which is Fabulon Records, and I'm really not at liberty to talk at all about Fabulon Records. It's a very exclusive thing.
Okay, cool. But, you heard it.
Yeah, that's right. Fabulon Records. It's the new deal. But there's they like to make sure that we test ourselves, and so there's very little there's little to no financial backing from any label or anything like that. So it's literally from the first gig.
Do you guys have a Patreon or like a? I mean, I know you have a Bandcamp, but do you have a Patreon or anything where people can get to and just fucking supply you some funds?
I'm not sure what Patreon is.
Patreon, have you ever heard of crowdfunding?
Yeah, crowdfunding.
So Patreon is similar to that. So with a Patreon, it's more of like a subscription service where people can just add money and they can donate a small amount and be like, oh, you're the first to know when a ticket comes out or a gig comes out. Or you can do like tiers of value. Check that out. It might be worthwhile.
I'm a little scared of crowdfunding because I'm a very stubborn bastard and I don't like to ask people for money.
You're not asking people for money though. You're just saying you can put money here. That's all you're doing, really. You can put money here, and we can give you this afterwards.
I guess it's just providing a service.
It's providing a service, and also, I mean, fucking adds security for what you're doing, man.
Yeah.
Does that a little bit of backbone to what you're doing?
Yeah, I should look into more things like that. And I'm really bad at using a lot of these new tools that the 21st century has provided.
Yeah.
I'm pretty poor at it. I did a pledge music campaign to raise funds for my new record, which was really just raising funds to print or press all the records. But it was just it's a pre-order process, so I feel better about it. It's like we were pre-ordering it.
Yeah, well that's essentially what a Patreon would be. They would pre-order the record and they'd be supporting your development of the record, so they'd be guaranteed to get one. Maybe you just sign it, or maybe you had a T-shirt to it, or a picture of you of your dick out and hanging it over some watermelon or something. Just something ridiculous, because you can do that and people will be like, oh, I'll subscribe to that $50 tier.
Maybe I should just be selling my body. I don't know, like the photographs of myself.
The voice is good, the music's good.
Body's not good.
Pardon? Oh, was that
from the peanut gallery?
From the PA, we had the body is good. Yeah, my body is on fucking point. I don't think we've got anything else to go through. Where can we find you? Facebook, MySpace, all of that shit. Let us know.
Yeah. I'm on Facebook, I guess, and Instagram.
Okay, so what's your name on Facebook?
Facebook is just Dylan Earl Music. I guess it's facebook.com/Dylan Earl Music.
Yeah.
Instagram is the Dylan Earl, and I kind of feel, speaking of being pretentious, I feel a little pretentious adding an article in front of my name. But it's only because there's a Bible thumping kid out of God knows where, USA, that's just Dylan Earl. And
yeah, but it's better than like the Dylan or Dylan Earl _06 or something stupid like that.
Yeah,
you need it to be accessible, but that's good.
It's accessible. And then
your Bandcamp?
Bandcamp is dylanearl.bandcamp.com, and then there's dylanearlmusic.com as well. Just Google it, you know.
They have it.
That's pretty much
They have it. I think we're going to wrap it up here. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, my man.
You're fantastic.
Dude, it has been
Thank
a
you very
pleasure
much.
being involved
And
with
tune in for the next Pubcast podcast. This is Dylan Earl. I think we'll attach a song or a video to the end of the cast. Yeah, I think that'd be really good. It'd be really nice. But it's been a pleasure chatting to you, mate.
Dude, it's good to talk to you, Eddie.
Thanks so much.
That's Daniel behind the camera.
That's
the peanut gallery over here.
Alright, just check us out on, where is it? www.readpublichouse.magazine. Oh no, wait. Is it? Daniel? No, it's readpublichouse.co.uk.
Yeah.
www.readpublichouse.co.uk. This is where you'll find the fucking podcast and all that goodness. Much love.
Bye-bye. House forever.
Sweet. Oh.
Half out of luck and way out of line. I was one sip over the edge. I was a fool at the end of the bar last night. Stuck in my ways, she gave me her time, but I couldn't sacrifice mine. I was a fool for thinking she'd change her mind. Does she lay with another? Does he look just like me? Does he honor her side of the bed where she woke up on mornings with me? Take much to get me this way, just a couple to several, and then I know I'll wake up with nothing but the stains of sand. So I'm sorry, my friends, for my way. Soon. For now I'll keep living to hope I can change with time. Does she lay with another? Does he look just like me? Does he honor her side of the bed where she woke up in the mornings with me? Where she woke up on mornings with